You can understand this sentence immediately, can't you? You did not need a dictionary. You did not need someone to explain the grammar. Your brain received the words, understood the meaning, and moved forward. But now I want you to do something different. I want you to say one sentence out loud about what you have done today. Go ahead, say it. Maybe you said, I woke up early. Maybe I worked all day. Maybe I watched a video. Or perhaps something strange happened. You knew exactly what you wanted to say, but suddenly your English became slower. You started searching. You changed the sentence in your head. You wondered whether the tense was correct. You almost said something, stopped, and tried again. That little struggle tells me something important about your English. Your problem may not be that you do not know enough English. Your problem may be that you have trained English mostly as something you recognize, not something you retrieve and produce under pressure. And those are different abilities. Think about your phone for a moment. You may recognize hundreds of contacts when their names appear on the screen. But if I suddenly asked you to write down every phone number from memory, recognition would not help you very much. Speaking English works in a similar way. When you read or listen, the words are already in front of you. Your brain only has to recognize them. When you speak, nothing is waiting for you. You must find the words, organize them, choose a structure, pronounce the sentence, and continue thinking about what comes next. That is why someone can watch English videos for years and still become nervous when a person simply asks, "So, what do you think?" You have probably blamed vocabulary. You may have said, "I need another 1,000 words." Maybe you blamed grammar. "My grammar is still weak." Maybe confidence. "I'm just shy." Those things can matter, but there is another skill underneath all of them. The ability to retrieve usable English quickly enough to keep communication moving. That is the skill I want you to train with me. And I do not want you sitting there agreeing with everything I say. Agreement will not train speaking. Listening quietly will not train speaking. Understanding me perfectly will not train speaking. You need to participate. So here is your first challenge. I am going to give you a simple question. You have 5 seconds to begin answering. Your answer does not have to be impressive. What do you normally do after dinner? Answer now. Do not restart. Keep going for at least 15 seconds. If you said something awkward, good. If you forgot a word, even better. That moment is exactly where training begins. Many learners make a mistake here. The moment they feel difficulty, they escape back into studying. They open a vocabulary app. They watch another explanation. They write 10 new phrases into a notebook. Studying feels productive because there is less risk. Speaking exposes the gap between what you recognize and what you can actually use. But that gap is not proof that you are bad at English. It is simply information. It shows you what your brain has not automated yet. Imagine learning to play the piano by watching other people play. You could study finger position. You could memorize the names of notes. You could watch excellent musicians for 2 hours every evening. Eventually, you would understand a great deal about piano, but then someone puts your hands on the keys. Now knowledge must become movement. English speaking has the same transition. Knowledge has to become action. And this is where I want to change the way you practice. From this moment, whenever you know an English expression, ask yourself a second question. Can I retrieve it when I need it? Knowing actually is not enough. Can you say, actually, I changed my mind, without planning it? Knowing I'd rather is not enough. Can you quickly say, I'd rather stay home tonight? Knowing past tense is not enough. Can you describe yesterday without stopping every few words to build the grammar? That difference matters. Now repeat after me. I don't need perfect English to start speaking. Again, but more naturally. I don't need perfect English to start speaking. Now change one part of that sentence yourself. I don't need perfect English to finish it. Perhaps you said, talk to people, express myself, join a conversation, or practice every day. Excellent. Notice what just happened. You did not merely repeat English. You manipulated it. You took a structure and made it serve your own meaning. That is closer to real speaking. For years, you may have treated sentences as finished objects. You read them, memorized them, maybe repeat them 5 times. But conversation does not give you finished sentences. Conversation gives you situations, and your brain has to build language for them. So we are going to train flexibility. Suppose someone asks, "Do you like living in your city?" You could say, "Yes." Conversation finished. Or you could train yourself to add one more layer. "Yes, I do. Especially because everything I need is nearby." Now another layer. "Yes, I do. Especially because everything I need is nearby." Although the traffic can be frustrating. You see what happened? We took a tiny answer and stretched it. This is one of the simplest speaking muscles you can build: expansion. Most learners are constantly trying to create brilliant sentences. I want you to become good at extending ordinary ones. Let's practice. Question: do you enjoy mornings? Start with one sentence. Now add a reason. Now add an example. Say the whole answer aloud. Something like, "Yes, I enjoy mornings because my mind feels clearer." For example, "I usually get my best work done before everyone else becomes busy." It does not need to sound exactly like that. In fact, I would rather it didn't. Your goal is not to copy me. Your goal is to use the structure. Answer, reason, example. This tiny pattern can rescue you in dozens of conversations. Do you like cooking? Answer, reason, example. Are you busy these days? Answer, reason, example. What kind of movies do you watch? Answer, reason, example. And suddenly you are not fighting to invent a complete response from nothing. Your brain has a path. That is important because speaking fluently is not only about vocabulary, it is also about reducing the number of decisions your brain has to make at once. When beginners and intermediate learners speak, they often try to solve everything simultaneously. Which tense? Which word? What pronunciation? Should I use a or the? Is this sentence natural? What is the other person thinking? Did I make a mistake 3 seconds ago? No wonder your mind feels overloaded. Your working memory has limited space. If you fill all of that space with self-correction, very little is left for communication. This is why I want you to separate practice into different modes. Sometimes you study accuracy, sometimes you train flow. Do not demand both at maximum level every second. When we are training flow, I do not want you interrupting yourself because one article may have been wrong. Finish your thought first. Let's test this immediately. Tell me about the room you are sitting in. Speak for 20 seconds. Describe where you are, what you can see, what the atmosphere feels like. And here is the rule: you are not allowed to restart a sentence. If something comes out wrong, continue. Start. This may feel uncomfortable because you have probably trained yourself to erase mistakes instantly. But conversation has no delete button. Real speakers repair language while moving forward. They say things like, "I went there on Tuesday, sorry, Wednesday." What I mean is, let me say that differently. I don't know the exact word, but these are not signs of weak English. These are communication tools. Repeat. Let me say that differently. Again. Let me say that differently. Now. I don't know the exact word, but, again, I don't know the exact word, but, keep those phrases. They are bridges. Imagine you are speaking and forget the word screwdriver. An old version of you might freeze. You might stop talking because the missing word suddenly feels like a locked door. But communication gives you another option. I don't know the exact word, but it's the tool you use to turn a screw. You kept moving. That skill is called circumlocution. Explaining around a word you cannot retrieve. It is one of the most useful abilities a learner can develop because you will always forget words sometimes. Native speakers forget words too. Fluency does not mean your brain instantly retrieves every word stored inside it. Fluency means one missing word does not destroy the entire conversation. Let's train it. I want you to describe umbrella without saying the word umbrella. Go. You could say, "It's something you carry when it rains. You hold it above your head to stay dry." Now describe refrigerator without using the word. Go. It's the large machine in your kitchen that keeps food cold. Now wallet. Go. Do you see what we are doing? We are teaching your brain not to panic when the perfect word disappears. That matters because panic makes retrieval harder. You forget one word. Then you think, "Why can't I remember this? My English is terrible." Your attention moves away from the conversation and toward your performance. Now you are monitoring yourself instead of communicating. More words disappear, your body becomes tense, you speak less. Then later you remember every missing word when the conversation is over. You have probably experienced that. 10 minutes later, your brain says, "Of course, that was the word." Very helpful, brain. But there is a reason. Pressure changes the conditions under which you retrieve language. That means speaking practice must include a little pressure, not harmful pressure, but controlled pressure. If you only practice when you have unlimited time to construct a sentence, you become good at constructing sentences with unlimited time. Conversation does not offer that luxury, so I want you to begin using a 5-second start rule. When you ask yourself a speaking question, begin answering within 5 seconds. Not finish, begin. This trains initiation. Many learners think their problem is that they cannot speak for 2 minutes. Often the real problem is that they cannot begin without preparing. Let's practice. Where would you like to travel someday? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Speak. What is one habit you want to change? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Speak. What is something you learned recently? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Speak. Notice whether your first sentence was simple. Good. Simple beginnings are powerful. You do not have to enter a conversation with your most advanced English. Start with language you can control. I think, for me, the main reason is, I've noticed that one thing I really enjoy is those phrases buy your brain time while keeping the conversation alive. Repeat after me. I think the main reason is, again, I think the main reason is, now finish it with your own idea. I think the main reason is, do not copy mine, complete yours. Good. Now, one thing I've noticed is, finish it. That is retrieval training. And I want you to understand something that may completely change your idea of confidence. Confidence usually does not arrive before speaking. It arrives because of accumulated evidence. Every time you successfully express an idea, even imperfectly, your brain collects evidence. I can handle this. Every time you avoid speaking because you feel unprepared, your brain collects different evidence. Speaking is dangerous. Silence protects me. That is why waiting until you feel confident can trap you for years. You cannot think your way into speaking confidence. You have to give your nervous system experiences of surviving imperfect communication, not one heroic conversation, many small ones. For the next challenge, imagine you walk into a small cafe. The person at the counter asks, "Hi, what can I get for you?" Respond aloud. Do not make it complicated. Now they ask, "Anything else?" Respond. Now imagine they say, "Sorry, we don't have that today." What would you say? Maybe, "No problem, I'll have the other one." Good. This sounds simple because it is simple, but simple English used automatically is more valuable in conversation than advanced English trapped inside your notebook. You might know words such as inevitable, substantial, consequently, and nevertheless, excellent words. But can you smoothly say, "I'm not sure yet, give me a second, that makes sense, I didn't expect that, I was thinking the same thing"? Can you explain what you mean? These are conversational tools. Fluent speakers rely heavily on reusable chunks of language. They are not building every sentence word by word from zero. That is another reason you may feel slow. You may have been studying English as individual words when speech works much more efficiently through chunks. Think about the phrase "at the end of the day." An experienced speaker does not consciously assemble "at" plus "the" passed off to the day. The phrase behaves almost like one unit. The same happens with "as far as I know." The thing is, it depends on. To be honest, from my point of view, now that I think about it, when these become automatic, they reduce the processing load during speech. But do not memorize 50 today. We are going to activate a few. Repeat. The thing is, again, the thing is, now complete. The thing is, I. Say something true, now. It depends on, complete it. It depends on, maybe. It depends on the situation. Good, now. Now that I think about it. Finish with an idea. These chunks are not decorations. They are launch pads. And I want you to start collecting language differently. Instead of asking, "What does this phrase mean?" Ask, in what situation would I personally use it? Suppose you learn, I ended up. Do not just write the translation. Create 3 situations from your life. I planned to work, but I ended up watching a movie. I went out for coffee and ended up meeting an old friend. I wasn't hungry, but I ended up eating with everyone. Now the phrase has connections. Memory works better when language is attached to situations, emotions, actions, and personal meaning. A phrase floating alone in a notebook is easy to recognize and hard to retrieve. A phrase connected to your real life has multiple doors into memory. So here is your next task. Use I ended up in a sentence about your own life. Say it. Now use I've been meaning to. Complete it honestly. I've been meaning to exercise more. I've been meaning to call someone. I've been meaning to organize my room. Whatever is true for you. Again, this is not vocabulary collection. This is vocabulary activation. There is a difference. Passive vocabulary is language you understand. Active vocabulary is language that appears when you need it. Your goal is not to move every English word you know into active vocabulary. That would be unnecessary. Your goal is to build a strong core of highly available language. And availability grows through retrieval. Every time you force your brain to pull a phrase out, instead of seeing it first, you strengthen the pathway used for speaking. This is why I want you to stop looking at the answer before trying. When practicing alone, ask yourself a question and answer before checking useful phrases. When you see an object, describe it before looking up vocabulary. When you finish watching a short English video, close it and explain what you remember. That last exercise is powerful, not repetition, reconstruction. You watch 30 seconds, pause, then explain the idea in your own English. Maybe the original speaker said something elegant and advanced. You might produce, she was saying that people become afraid when they think too much about mistakes. That is enough. You converted comprehension into production. Let's simulate it now. I will give you an idea. People often postpone speaking practice because they believe they must first reach a higher level, but speaking itself is one of the activities that creates that higher level. Do not repeat my sentence. Explain the idea in simpler English. Go. Perhaps you said, people wait to speak because they think they are not ready. But speaking is how they improve. Exactly. That ability, taking meaning and rebuilding it with your own available language, is at the heart of real communication. You do not need to reproduce perfect textbook sentences. You need to express meaning. And I want to challenge another habit you may have, translating complete sentences before you speak. You have an idea in your first language, you build the entire sentence there. Then you search for English equivalents. By the time you are halfway through translating, the conversation has moved on. Instead of translating the full sentence, shrink the thought. Suppose your original thought is complicated. I would have joined them if I had known that the meeting was going to finish earlier than originally expected. Maybe you cannot produce that structure quickly yet. You can still communicate. I didn't go because I thought the meeting would finish late. If I knew, I would have gone. Not perfect? Perhaps. Communicative? Absolutely. Your brain needs permission to choose a simpler road. Fluency often grows not because you suddenly know more, but because you become better at expressing the same idea with the English you already control. Let's practice simplification. Try to express this idea. You wanted to buy something, but after seeing the price, you decided it was unnecessary. Say it naturally. Maybe, I wanted to buy it, but it was too expensive, so I changed my mind. Excellent. Now this. You were planning to meet a friend, but heavy rain made you stay home. Speak. I was going to meet my friend, but it started raining heavily, so I stayed home. Good. You are learning to trust available language. That trust matters. Because some learners are not silent because they lack English. They are silent because they reject every sentence their brain offers. Your brain gives you, I don't like this place because it's too noisy, and your internal critic says, too basic. So you search for something more advanced. I find the atmosphere excessively. Then you lose the adjective. Conversation dies. Listen carefully. Basic English spoken clearly and naturally is not inferior English. Communication is not a vocabulary exhibition. If a simple sentence expresses your idea, use it. Advanced language can grow later. Your first responsibility is to keep meaning moving. Now I want a 30-second challenge. Speak about a problem you solved recently. Maybe something at work, at home, with technology, transportation, money, study, anything. But I am giving you 3 rules. Begin within 5 seconds. Do not restart. If you forget a word, explain around it. Ready? Go. Keep going. Do not judge. Finish the thought. Good. Now think about where you became stuck. Was it vocabulary? Was it grammar? Was it deciding what to say? Was it trying to make the sentence perfect? This diagnosis is far more useful than saying, "My English is bad." "My English is bad" gives you nothing to train. "I struggle to give examples after my first sentence" gives you a target. "I forget common verbs when speaking quickly" gives you a target. "I know the answer but take too long to start" gives you a target. "I stop after making a grammar mistake" gives you a target. Specific problems can be trained. Vague insecurity cannot. So become curious about your mistakes. Your mistakes are showing you the map. Let's work on another skill that many learners ignore: conversational reaction. Speaking is not always giving long answers. Real conversation depends on showing the other person that you are following them. Imagine someone says, "I finally finished the project I've been working on for 6 months." You could just wait for your turn. Or you could react, "That must feel great. 6 months? That's a long time. Nice. What was the hardest part?" Those reactions make you sound engaged because conversation is cooperative. Let's practice. I say, "I missed my train this morning." React aloud. Maybe, "Oh no, what did you do?" Good. "I'm starting a new job next week." React. "That's exciting. Are you nervous?" Good. "I haven't slept properly for 3 nights." React. "That sounds exhausting. Is everything okay?" Excellent. This skill is powerful because it takes attention away from "how does my English sound?" and moves it toward "what is this person telling me?" That shift can reduce nervousness. When you are completely focused on yourself, every mistake feels enormous. When you focus on the other person, English becomes a tool again. And that is what it should be: a tool, not a performance, not an examination, not a public measurement of your intelligence. A tool for connecting one mind to another. Now repeat. I'm listening for meaning, not preparing a perfect answer. Again. I'm listening for meaning, not preparing a perfect answer. That sentence represents a major conversational habit. Many learners stop listening halfway through because they begin constructing their response. Then they miss the end of the speaker's sentence. Now they are confused, nervous, and even more focused on themselves. Instead, listen to the complete idea. Then use a reaction phrase to give yourself a moment. That's interesting. I see what you mean. Really? That makes sense. Then answer. These tiny phrases create breathing room. Let's put several skills together. Imagine I ask, what do you usually do when you feel stressed? Begin within 5 seconds. Give an answer. Add a reason. Add an example. If you need time, use a conversational chunk. Speak for 30 seconds. Go. Now I ask, has that always worked for you? Respond. Do you feel the difference? You are no longer practicing isolated grammar. You are practicing conversational movement. Start, extend, react, repair, explain around missing words, continue. Those are speaking behaviors, and when you train behaviors repeatedly, they become easier to access. That is what automaticity means. It does not mean your English becomes robotic. It means basic processes require less conscious effort, leaving more mental space for your actual ideas. Think about when you first learned to type. You probably had to look at individual keys. Now, if you type regularly, your fingers handle many movements without conscious instructions. Speaking develops similar shortcuts, but shortcuts appear through repeated use, not repeated understanding. That is why your 7-day challenge should not be study harder. It should be retrieve more. For the next 7 days, create short moments where English has to come out of you. On day 1, describe ordinary actions while you are doing them. I'm making coffee. I need to answer this message. I forgot to charge my phone. This room feels warmer today. It may feel almost too easy. That is the point. You are connecting English directly to experience. On day 2, answer 10 personal questions aloud with the 5-second start rule. Not on paper, out loud. On day 3, practice expansion. Answer, reason, example. On day 4, practice missing word recovery. Choose 10 objects and describe them without naming them. On day 5, watch short English clips and reconstruct their meaning from memory. On day 6, simulate conversations. Cafe, workplace, airport, meeting, phone call, neighbor, friend. On day 7, record yourself speaking for 3 minutes about your week. Do not memorize a script. Do not write the speech first. Speak, then listen once, not to attack yourself, but to observe. Where did you hesitate? Which phrases came naturally? What ideas were difficult to express? Which mistakes actually damaged meaning? And which ones did not matter very much? That recording will teach you more about your speaking than another hour of vague worrying. And here is something important. Do not measure progress by asking, "Do I sound fluent yet?" That question is too big. Measure behaviors. Did I begin faster? Did I speak longer before stopping? Did I recover after forgetting a word? Did I use a phrase automatically? Did I continue after a mistake? Did I explain an idea instead of abandoning it? Those are signs that your speaking system is changing. Fluency grows quietly before it becomes obvious. A phrase that once required 5 seconds begins appearing in 2. A question that once made you freeze begins feeling familiar. A 30-second answer becomes a 1-minute answer. You stop translating one expression, then another. You begin repairing mistakes without losing your thought. Those are small changes, but together they create the speaker you have been trying to become. Now I want you to test yourself again. Remember the first question I asked you. What do you normally do after dinner? Answer again. But this time, give me more. Start within 5 seconds. Give your answer. Add why. Give an example. Add one contrast using but, although, or sometimes. Speak for 40 seconds. Go. Listen to yourself. Even if the grammar was imperfect, I want you to notice whether you had more direction this time. That direction matters. Speaking becomes easier when your brain knows what to do next. And you can build that ability deliberately. Here is another exercise I want you to use regularly. I call it the same story 3 ways exercise. Choose one small event from your day. Maybe you missed a bus. First, explain it in 1 sentence. I missed the bus this morning. Second, explain it in 3 sentences. I missed the bus this morning because I left home late. I had to wait 15 minutes for the next one. Luckily, I still arrived on time. Third, tell the story for 1 minute. Add what happened before, how you felt, what you did next, and what you learned. This develops flexibility, because real conversations demand different lengths. Sometimes someone wants 1 sentence. Sometimes they ask, what happened? Sometimes they become interested and want the full story. A flexible speaker can compress and expand. Try it now. Choose one thing that happened today. 1 sentence, go. Now 3 sentences, go. Now add more detail. Keep speaking. Excellent. And please notice this. You are creating English from memory, not reading it. That is the work your speaking brain needs. Another exercise is called question chaining. Take one topic, then keep asking yourself the next natural question. Topic, weekends. What do I usually do on weekends? Answer. Why do I like doing that? Answer. Who do I usually spend time with? Answer. What would my ideal weekend look like? Answer. Was last weekend different? Answer. One topic creates 5 speaking opportunities. This teaches your brain to stay inside a subject instead of producing 1 sentence and escaping. Let's try a different topic, food. What food do you eat often? Why? Can you cook it yourself? When did you last eat it? Is there something you loved as a child but rarely eat now? Answer each aloud. Do not rush through them. This is the kind of practice that changes speaking because you are retrieving language repeatedly around connected ideas. And if you discover that the same word is missing again and again, now you have a vocabulary word worth learning. That is another change I want you to make. Stop collecting random vocabulary simply because it looks advanced. Let your speaking reveal what vocabulary you actually need. If you try describing your work 3 times and keep needing the same missing expression, learn it. If you tell stories and constantly need phrases for sequence, after that, eventually, at first, by the time, learn those. If you discuss opinions and keep needing contrast, on the other hand, at the same time, even though, learn those. Your speaking practice can become a diagnostic system for vocabulary. Now vocabulary has a purpose, and purposeful language sticks better. I also want to remove one dangerous expectation, the belief that fluent speakers never hesitate. Listen to real conversation carefully. People pause. They reformulate. They change direction halfway through a sentence. They use fillers. They search for words. The difference is not zero hesitation. The difference is recovery. If you pause for 2 seconds and continue, the conversation is still alive. If you pause and mentally declare a disaster, the conversation collapses. So practice calm recovery. Repeat. Give me a second, again. Give me a second, now. How can I put this, again? How can I put this, and what I'm trying to say is, these phrases give you permission to think while remaining inside English. Use them. They are part of fluent communication. Now I want you to explain something slightly difficult. Explain what success means to you. You have 45 seconds. You may use, for me, I think. The main thing is, for example, what I'm trying to say is, begin. Good. That kind of abstract topic may have felt harder than describing your room. Of course it did. Different speaking tasks require different levels of language. Do not judge your entire fluency based on the hardest subject you can imagine. Someone may comfortably talk about family and daily life, but struggle with economics. That does not mean they cannot speak English. It means their language resources differ by topic. Build outward gradually. Daily life, personal experiences, opinions, stories, explanations, abstract ideas, professional topics. Your speaking range expands through use. And one more thing. Stop waiting for English-speaking people to appear before you practice speaking. A conversation partner is useful, but your mouth does not know whether a listener is present. Your brain can practice retrieval alone. You can narrate, respond to imaginary questions, record voice notes, summarize videos, explain objects, retell memories, argue both sides of an opinion. Describe decisions, practice reactions, simulate phone calls. You have dozens of speaking opportunities available before another person enters the room. Then, when a real conversation happens, it is no longer your first repetition. It may be your 20th. That changes everything. Imagine someone tomorrow asks, "What have you been working on lately?" If you have never answered that question aloud, you begin from zero. But if tonight you practice answering it 3 different ways, tomorrow your brain recognizes the root, not memorized, familiar. Familiarity reduces cognitive load. And lower cognitive load often feels like confidence. So answer it now. What have you been working on lately? Give me 30 seconds. Go. Now answer again, but differently. Do not repeat the same sentences. That second version is important. Because memorizing one perfect answer can create another trap. If conversation changes slightly, the script breaks. Flexible speaking means you can express the same idea in different words. Maybe first you said, "I've been working on improving my English because I want to communicate more confidently." Second version. "Recently, I've been spending more time on English, especially speaking practice." Same meaning, different root. That flexibility makes your language stronger. I want one final exercise before we finish. You are going to speak for 1 uninterrupted minute. Your topic is, "Why do I want to speak English better?" But you cannot give me a generic answer. Tell the truth. Maybe you want a better job. Maybe you want to travel without depending on someone else. Maybe you want to participate in meetings. Maybe you are tired of understanding everything but remaining silent. Maybe you want to speak to people online. Maybe you simply want the satisfaction of knowing that the language you studied for years finally belongs to you when you open your mouth. Whatever your reason is, say it. Use simple English. If you make a mistake, continue. If you forget a word, explain it. If you lose your idea, use, "What I'm trying to say is," 1 minute. Begin now. Keep going. Do not stop because a sentence is imperfect. Stay with the idea. Finish it. That minute matters, not because every sentence was correct. It matters because you practiced the exact ability you want to own. You converted thought into English in real time. And that is the bridge many learners never deliberately train. For years, you may have been standing on one side of that bridge, collecting grammar, vocabulary, videos, books, notes, and explanations. All of those things can help. But knowledge does not automatically cross into speech simply because enough time passes. You have to carry it across through retrieval. Again and again. You retrieve a phrase, you build a sentence, you stretch an answer, you forget a word and explain around it. You make a mistake and continue. You reconstruct an idea. You react to another speaker. You tell the same story differently. You begin before you feel completely ready. And gradually the distance between I know this and I can say this becomes smaller. So when you finish this lesson, please do not reward yourself by watching 5 more English videos silently. Give your voice some work. Look around your room and describe something. Ask yourself a question. Record a 60-second voice note. Retell one thing that happened today. Practice one imaginary conversation. Use the English that is already inside you. Tomorrow, do it again. And the next day, again. Not because 7 days will magically make every difficulty disappear, but because 7 days of deliberate production can teach you something you may not have learned in years of passive study. Speaking is a trainable behavior. You do not have to wait until every grammar rule feels secure. You do not have to know every word. You do not have to remove your accent. You do not have to produce beautiful sentences every time you open your mouth. You need to become someone who can keep meaning moving, someone who starts, someone who searches without panicking, someone who repairs instead of quitting, someone who uses simple language confidently when advanced language is unavailable, someone who participates. And when you begin practicing that person every day, your English starts changing in a very practical way. The words stop feeling like things you have only studied. They start feeling available. Your sentences stop feeling like puzzles that must be solved before you speak. They start becoming responses. Your mistakes stop feeling like evidence that you should remain silent. They become information about what to practice next. And eventually, one day, you will be halfway through a conversation when you notice something surprising. You were not translating every sentence. You were not examining every tense. You were not rehearsing every answer. You were simply listening, thinking, responding, and continuing. That moment will not come because you waited for confidence. It will come because you trained the missing skill. So do not hide the English you already have behind the English you have not learned yet. Use what you know. Stretch it. Strengthen it. Retrieve it. Speak it. And when your brain says, maybe I should wait until I'm better, remind yourself of this. Speaking is not the reward you receive after becoming fluent. Speaking is one of the ways you become fluent.